Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to today's episode where we delve into an essential pillar of Islam, that is Zakat. Zakat, often translated as charity or alms giving, is more than just a charitable act. It's a spiritual obligation that encourages generosity and social welfare. As one of the five pillars of Islam, Zakat plays a crucial role in purifying wealth and fostering a sense of community among Muslims. In this episode, we will explore the significance of Zakat, its impact on the society, and the various forms it can take. So, in this regard, today we are once again going to meet Professor Hamidullah Marazi Sahab, who has done a great lot of research on this very topic, that's of Zakat, to know about more of its modalities and the various forms it can take. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Again, today we are with Professor Hamidullah Marazi Sahab to discuss a very important thing of Islam, one of the great one of the pillars of Islam, that is Zakat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Professor Sahab, as you know, Zakat is solution to so many things in Islam. So we are here with you to greet our audience with yet another episode discussing the importance of Zakat and its various aspects.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنما الصدقات للفقراء والمساكين والعاملين عليها والمؤلفة قلوبهم وفي الرقاب والغارمين وفي سبيل الله وابن السبيل فريضة من الله والله عليم حكيم صدق الله وصدق رسوله ذلك العشاء وشاك. This is the 60th verse of Surah Tawbah. So in this verse it has been mentioned where we have to spend the charity, that is Zakat. Sadaqat here means Zakat.
Zakat.
So there are some classes for that, 8 classes. One is Masakeen, and then there first is Fuqra, then is Masakeen, then Ibn Sabi, then Amilin Alayha, then Mu'allafatul Qulub, then the people whom we have to get released, and those people who are immersed in the death, and then in the way of Allah. So this is obligation from Allah. It has been made obligation from Allah on His servants. So Zakat is really a great institution of Islam. It is one of the pillars of Islam. Because and then secondly, it is also solving the problems of the poor and the destitute and the marginalized.
We will go into each and every aspect of Zakat. It reminds me of the second rightly guided Khalifa, Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, who actually waged the war against the non-taxpayers, that's against the people who denied to pay Zakat. So we are going to start the program with this simple question. Dr. Saab, what is Zakat and is it as an institution in Islam?
Basically, Zakat is, as I mentioned, that is one of the obligations of Islam, one of the organs of Islam. Second, it is to purify our heart from the love of wealth and also make us a lover of Allah.
Lover of Allah.
Because the greatest hurdle in the way of Allah is between us and God is money and wealth. Most people are worshipping wealth.
Oh, they
because of wealth. And then they love wealth to that extent. Innahu lahubbi khair la shadid. Quran says that they
spend their lives in amassing
wealth. But that has no use, and that is not spent at all. But Zakat means that money should remain circulating among the people of a society, of a community, and it should go to the poor people, poorest of the poor. And there are 8 classes for that, as I mentioned. So one is Fuqra, who have nothing for eating, living, and they are not able to sustain themselves. So we have to provide them sustenance through Zakat. Then there is Masakeen, who have something but not sufficient to fulfill their needs and requirements. So we have to give also them portion from Zakat. Then the people who are working for establishing this system of Zakat, administration of Zakat, and distribution, collection and all. So one portion goes to them. And then we have to also give to those who are to be released from imprisonment. Because there are some people who have no wealth to get released from imprisoned, they are imprisoned, whatever the reasons, but now they want to get released, and because they have families, so they are not able to release on their own because they don't have those resources. So we can spend Zakat for them. And then Garmin, who are immersed in debt and they are not having any resources to pay off for debt. So then that can be given to them also, and then in the way of Allah. And that has been given a widest, interpretation by scholars, and I will be talking more about that because this is more important in modern times. Whether we can use zakat for the charity purposes other
Yes.
than giving it to poor only.
For all these things will
Yeah,
come in detail.
yeah.
Systematically, we will
Inshallah.
have to follow a particular approach.
Mm.
As we know that people often say that zakat is a solution of poverty. It can completely eradicate poverty in Muslim Ummah. Please throw some light on it.
I was just seeing the 17 goals of sustainable development. I found that several of the goals of the sustainable development can be achieved those goals if we pay zakat. For example, there should be no hunger.
There should be no hunger.
So through zakat, we are providing to the masakin and fuqara who are not having anything to eat or to sustain themselves. We are providing them sustenance.
We are providing them
So this is very hunger. It is like, and then the people who are in need, and for example, they have a lot of debt they have, or they are in the prison and they have a lot of problems, they are not able to earn. So we can provide them, and it is going to solve the problems. And we know during the time of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and afterwards, there was no one to be without food, go to bed without food. And even people were not ready to accept zakat because everyone had become self-sufficient, because the system of zakat was that much robust in order to eradicate all the poverty and all the destitution from the society, that even people were not ready to accept zakat. Everyone was giving zakat rather than accepting it. So it means that this zakat has had been a, it is tested solution to eradicate poverty.
to eradicate
Yeah.
poverty. Very good, very good. Can it become a source of sustainable development for our society?
Definitely, as I said, that there are 17 goals of sustainable development which have been established by the world bodies. And I say that at least 6-7 goals of the sustainable development can be met if we pay zakat and we use the clauses of zakat. Almost all important persons who are in need, those have been just taken care of by zakat. And this zakat institution was there very much during the time of Prophet ﷺ, and Baitul Mal was there, and every person was getting whatever he needs, and especially those people who were the marginalized, who were poor, who were below poverty line, they were given all the sustenance from this Baitul Mal. And in this way, it has had been the sustainable goal of sustainable development, and it has been the means to that. So in modern times also, it is catering the needs of many people in different countries of the world, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in Turkey, in other Muslim countries. So zakat is a robust institution there, and they are using it for eradication of poverty.
So it has been proved from what you say that zakat is actually a blessing.
Yeah.
So the important part of it is that how zakat can be used on different sections of people and upon whom zakat can be spent.
So I mentioned about those. We can just go for that. For example, we have a very important clause in zakat. Apart from fuqara and masakin and garimin and riqab and amlina alayha, so we have one very important clause of zakat, that is fi sabilillah. I would like to just do deal with this subject in more detail. For example, there are very detailed.
We can even discuss Marifatul Qulub fi sabilillah.
Mu'allafatul Qulub is, I have just forgotten that. Mu'allafatul Qulub are those people whose hearts are to be inclined towards Islam. They have some inclination, tendency, but they don't have that much tendency, or they have already gone to the fold of Islam, but now they have no means to sustain themselves. So to make them attracted to Islam, so we can spend one portion of zakat on them as well, and that can become this we should say source of their rehabilitation. For example, a person, he is just reverting to Islam. Now he has no source to go anywhere or to sustain himself or have any rehabilitation center. So I think that we can just make rehabilitation centers for them, and there is one portion for them, and then they can be. And even there are some people, they are inimical towards Islam, so their animosity can be just that can be decreased by giving them some amount of zakat. So that is also one of the provisions of zakat, and such other provisions are there in Mu'allafatul Qulub. But so far as other aspects of zakat, which is for the poor, which is for the fuqara, which is for the masakin and garimin and riqab. So they may be not even the people who are imprisoned, they may not be poor at home, but they have become now poor because of imprisonment. So we need to help them. And then there may be some people, Ibn Sabil, there may be some people who are just stranded somewhere. They had a lot of wealth at their home, but they have been stranded and they could not, get wealth of their. They could not hold their wealth with them, and they are now in such a condition where they have no means to reach back to their homes. So and they are not. They are in the way. They are considered to be the sons of the way, Ibn Sabi, son of the way, as has been said, the son of the water. So some people have been, that has been also one of the terms which has been used by the Arabs. So Ibn Sabil means who is always in a trouble because of he was in journey but he has lost all the means, or he was some money was stolen from him, or some misfortune occurred, or some accident took place. Now he is not able to go back to his home.
Now.
He's penniless. He has become destitute. He has been rendered without any wealth to reach to his home, to destiny. So for them we can also use this. And then fi sabilillah is very important, which I would like to lay much emphasis, and that is considered to be the way of Allah. So it outlines various scholarly perspectives. There are different schools of thought who have talked about this, so we need to discuss this.
Yes.
So it has been mostly mentioned by scholars that it is used for the military purposes when the Muslim countries are being attacked or there is some war is going on in most cases. But there are several scholars, they say we can use it for other causes, righteous causes, such as education and knowledge dissemination. Yeah, it has been mentioned by scholars. I will just mention about that, particularly in today's context where the defense and spread of Islam through intellectual means are crucial, because a lot of challenges Islam is facing nowadays. There are challenges from media. There is Islamophobic propaganda going on everywhere in the world. So we can use to eradicate that propaganda or to combat that Islamophobic propaganda against Islam through these means, and this also in feasibility in that way. The text we have we can just understand about that, which I have prepared. That includes Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi, Hanbali scholars, and they have talked about what is the meaning of feasibility, because this is a very crucial issue and there is some disagreement on that, which clauses are included in that. So now I have just tried to give detailed articulation out to this aspect, and it suggests that zakat could be allocated to individuals or efforts that promote the correct understanding of Islam. So we need to understand Islam, and Islam is to be understood in modern times in the perspective of modern world, modern problems. So it means that we need to know modern science also, modern philosophies also.
Yes.
In comparison to that, we can present Islam as an alternative or as a source of guidance. So in this way, and we have to combat the falsehood, which is big as propaganda, as I mentioned, and the people who are facing problems because of these reasons, they may be poor, and we can help them in order to they can just stand on their feet against this propaganda. In addition to offering the textual sources and references for each point, it emphasizes the growing importance of supporting knowledge and education in the Islamic community, because Muslims are lagging behind in education. So we need to give them all the sustenance, which is very much important for disseminating education. And for that reason, we need to understand that this is also one of the defense of one's religion. And if it is feasible, I mean that we are just using it for making Muslims to be steadfast in their own religion, so that they are not affected by the propaganda, Islamophobic, negative narratives, so that they may not deviate from the way of Islam. And in this way, we can just understand that there are several provisions which can be used for eradicating poverty through education and through knowledge. And we find, for example, there are Hanafi, there are Shafi, there are Maliki, and there are Hanbali. They have just given their interpretations about how we can use zakat for other things than just for the military use as it used to be once.
Okay, Islam being the blessing for the whole humanity, then a question arises: can this zakat be given to non-Muslims?
So in a way, we can't give it to non-Muslims, but only those non-Muslims can be given zakat whose hearts are to be inclined towards Islam.
Okay.
Or they have some soft corner about Muslims or Islam, but that they need to be strengthened so that they get more inclined towards Islam. For them, we can use it, but them, not for other reasons. And secondly, it may be in some cases, if we just make some, it has been said, but if we are able to make some buildings or make some inns or other things. So there, all people can be benefited by that. But mostly, it is fariza. It is one of the obligations of Muslims for helping Muslim community in order to come out from their problems they are in.
Actually, I was going to ask you that can universities, bridges, colleges, inns be made from this, even coaching centers for students who are not in a position to pay their fee. Can zakat be used for these purposes also?
Yeah, I have just given the detailed, description of that in my presentation. But here, because of the paucity of time, I will not be reading the names of all the people, but I will give the gist. And there are many scholars from different, I should say, schools of thought, like Hanabala. They say that apart from, these purposes for which zakat was given in fi sabilillah, we can use it also for giving a person who wants to go for Hajj.
Okay.
And there are scholars, they say that if there is a person who wants to marry and he is not having any resources to go for marry and he wants to marry, he wants to get married, so he can be also helped. And there are scholars who say that we can use the zakat even for kafan and such type of things, to for the funeral rituals for a Muslim who is not having these resources to meet those all needs. So in this way, there are scholars, they say that mostly it is fi sabilillah, means that we have to use it for the purposes which was allocated, which was ghazwa and other things. But they say that it is also included, knowledge is also included with that. And knowledge does not, and they say that it is all should be religious knowledge, no doubt in that. But there are scholars like Yusuf Qarzawi and others, they say we can extend it to other sciences also. And then they say, what is knowledge? Knowledge is just beneficial or non-beneficial.
Exactly.
And knowledge is always praised by Islam. So, and we need knowledge. For example, if we are just preparing something, we need engineering for that. We want to make a masjid, we need engineering science for that, other things like that. So this becomes means for that. So we can just use it for establishing universities. But there should be nothing which should be impermissible. If such sciences are being taught which are permissible sciences, which are not, for example, there's not magic or alchemy and all such type of sciences which are forbidden by Islam, pseudo sciences or palmistry and other things, which are not accepted by Islam, unscientific and superstitious sciences. But if the sciences are permitted or they are permissible from the point of view Sharia, so there is nothing wrong to establish such institutions or universities where these sciences are being taught, and it can include also in fi sabilillah. So it has been mentioned by many scholars, and Ismail Qarzawi especially, and I have just mentioned that in detail. And especially Hanafi school has also extended their sphere or their I should say gambit of fi sabilillah to other needs than this specific need of ghazwa, as I mentioned.
As you mentioned earlier. So in other words, it means then for Darul Ulooms, it's all okay.
Yeah, that is because this is also in the cause of Allah, because knowledge is one of the very important ingredients of Islam. And it has been said by the Prophet "Man salaka tariqa yaltamisu fi ilma salallahu tariqa al jannah." So it has been called tariq in Quran, that if in Hadith, that if a person is taking some way in order to learn knowledge and get knowledge, acquire knowledge, Allah will make the way of heaven very easy for him, smooth for him. So it means knowledge is one of the very important ingredients, and through knowledge people become mujtahid, and they do ijtihad for Islam, and then they defend Islam, because there have been many hadiths of the Prophet. It has been said that you should fight your desires, you should fight your you should just spread Islam through Quran and wajahidun bi jihadin kabira. So in this way, there is not only one type of ghazwa, but there are many ghazwa. Ghazwa fikriya, that intellectual warfare. So that is only possible by those people who are well educated and knowledgeable. And for education, we need universities.
Dr. Saab, I may ask you a question which can seem out of box. You see the rate of unemployment is rising day by day. So can zakat be used to create jobs or to create some business in which the Muslim youth can be engaged?
For example, we can understand if we have such type of, we want to empowerment of the Muslim, because zakat is for empowering Muslim. And it is not that a person who is able to earn and he has good health, we should not give alms to him or charity to him in most cases. So Islam wants people to stand on their feet. But zakat becomes a way to make them to stand on their feet. It is a means to that purpose, that end, that goal. But problem is that if it becomes just institution and people are just now they are begging and but they are not, and they are always begging, and they depend always on zakat. They always depend on zakat and sadaqat. So it was not for that. It was just to empower people. And if a person has this problem this time, we are helping him through zakat so that he may stand on his own feet and he may become zakat giver. Yeah, yes. Not zakat taker. Yes, yes. So it is for the empowerment. It is not to make people, passive, and make people lull and just they will just not do anything, and they will just wait when the zakat comes to their way, and they will just utilize that without doing anything. So it is just to make them, to stand on their feet and earn their own livelihood. But when there are, unemployed youth, as you mentioned, and they have no resource, and they are not able to sustain themselves, then they become masakin. Yes, they become. When they become masakin, we can give zakat to them in that sense, and then we can establish a Baitul Mal for them so that we can give them, sustenance so that they can lead a good life, and we can help them in many ways. So in this way, and then in Feasibilillah, as I said, that it has been said that we can make, we can construct mansions, and we can construct buildings, we can construct universities, hospitals, and such type of other such type of institutions we can create through zakat. But mostly it has been confunded by people. But there is some very, I should say, inclusive interpretation of this Feasibilillah also, in which many things can be done by the community for the empowerment of the community, and especially in those areas where Muslims are in minority. Okay. Or where they are facing a lot of problems. So ulama have allowed them, they can use the zakat funds for different type of uses other than these which are already there mentioned. And classical definition was there. It is limited only to these 8 classes which were very limited in a sense, but people have expanded the scope of, for example, Feasibilillah. Yeah, for example, Tafsir al-Manar and others, and even Mullah Maududi and others, they have said that all the charitable causes can be taken care of under this clause of Feasibilillah.
So there is a prescribed set or prescribed rules followed by Islam. Do you feel that zakat is given in that prescribed form, or how do people spend zakat in other parts of the world other than our own part?
Problem is that here zakat has become just, I don't know, there is no system of zakat at all. And second, firstly, there is only maybe 2% people are paying zakat. And most of the people are not paying zakat. They don't know what is zakat. The concept of zakat is not very clear. Some people give there to Darul Uloom. Some people give there to many beggar, and they don't care whether he is entitled to it or not. Yes. And otherwise, there were 8 classes. Although there have been scholars like Shafi, he says that at least we should spend this zakat on these 8 classes. If it is not possible to spend it all at least 3 classes should be taken care of. Not only one group we should give the zakat. But there are some scholars, they say we can give the zakat even to one person so that he is made empowered, rather than to give money and they are not empowered at all. So we can just use this in many such type of, I should say, purposes for these objectives. And second part of the question was,
how is it? How do you feel, or have you seen zakat spent in other parts of the world?
So I have seen that, for example, in Malaysia and Indonesia and other countries and Turkey, so they are using it for very good charitable purposes, and they have zakat foundations and they have zakat centers, and they are taking care of the needs. Very sensitive. And I had given 2 lectures there, on the different sustainable development and zakat at Malaysia and Indonesia. Several lectures I had given on this subject. They were very much receptive to these ideas, and they have just already established zakat centers through which they are helping many people who are destitute and they want to go for studies, but they don't have money. They want to do some job, they are not able to get that job because they don't have any resources. Or people want to get married, or they want to get loans and other things they are not able to do, and they are helping them in this way. And in this way, zakat has become a means of sustainable development for those communities. Even the Zakat Foundation of India, that is in Delhi. Their office is there at Delhi, and Zafar Mahmood once just called me and he just asked me, and you had just written an article on this zakat and its recipients. So can you give me any reference? Then I gave reference from Manzoor Nama and others, and where we can use zakat other than these classical classes of it, which have been just mentioned, which has been restricted by our scholars. But there are modern scholars, they have given it expanded dimension to this interpretation, so far, especially so far as feasibilized, and they are utilizing this zakat. For example, they are just making people to have coaching centers. They are going for IES and other such type of examinations through the Zakat Foundation of India.
Yes.
And some of our Kashmiri, people have also taken advantage of that.
Benefited from that.
They benefited and they became IAS officers. Now they're administrators.
Yes, yes.
So in this way, they are utilizing zakat
In a
for
very
very beneficial way.
Okay.
But here in our part of the world, there is no system. I always say we need to have a Baitul Mal in every village. We need to have a Baitul Mal in every city, so that the well-meaning people of that area, apart from the ulama and scholars, they can maintain this zakat, I should say, accounts and other things, and then they can distribute, because it has been said that zakat or this sadaqat should be used in the proper place where from those are collected. For example, a person comes from a Gurez, and he comes to Srinagar for begging, or he is asking for alms or zakat and other things, but we don't know his whereabouts. So better it is that we should have centers at different parts of our valley. There it should be spent by the people who know the whereabouts of the people. Maybe it is not misused, because it is not sufficient that we are paying zakat. It is also very important. We should see it should reach to the proper recipients. Otherwise, zakat will be not paid at all. So, but here there is no system. Our educated people, they should come forward and they should establish zakat center at every place, so that this begging has been discouraged in Islam.
Actually, I was going to ask you, sir, that if you said similarly, you said that zakat has a very profound thing to do, that is to empower Muslims. So then it should be able to remove this beggary and other shabby professions from our society.
For example, one person came to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He was begging. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told him that you have anything at home. He said, I have something. You bring that and go to market and get just sell it out. He got some dirhams for that. He said, just get one, get something, and so that you may be able to just to do your own work, get some rope and other things. And then he got it. He says, it is better for you to get your livelihood by this honorable means, rather than begging people and becoming ashamed and becoming defamed among the people. So Islam has never encouraged begging. And it is very strange nowadays we are encouraging begging. And by not making zakat one of the sustainable development goal and mean.
So it's a very gloomy picture of our part of world. Then is it possible that in Kashmir we will see that there are many Baitul Mal or zakat centers can be created?
Basically,
what steps should we take?
Basically, it was mentioned in the Quran that if Muslims have rule somewhere in the world, they will establish prayers and they will pay zakat. So one of the institutions of Islam was, the institution of zakat. They were collecting it, and there was a proper administration for that, and they were being paid who were collecting zakat and were distributing. But since we don't have such type of environment at many places of the world, so it is the obligation on the Muslims that one of the important obligations of Islam is not being fulfilled, that is zakat. So now it is duty of our scholars, our students, our teachers, and our well-meaning Muslims. They should establish zakat centers and Baitul Mals at every place. It is their duty.
It is their duty.
And then they should try to eradicate poverty, and especially take take care of the needs of the poor and destitute of that area, so that no girl remains without marriage who has reached to their marriageable age.
Exactly.
No orphan remains without food or shelter, and no person remains without different type of means and resources through which he can just fulfill the important requirements of life. So in this way, and especially when there are some calamities, or there are a lot of time problems are being faced by people, at that time different type of agencies come from the world and they help. But we don't have any Baitul Mals. Those Baitul Mals will help us. It may be floods, it may be earthquakes, or it may be any catastrophe or any calamity. But the problem is that since we don't have that, and it was one of the obligations of Islam for us, and we should have established Baitul Mal, and this should be done. Yes. And especially the educated lot should come forward, and they should establish it, because they know and they can calculate it better. And we should associate ulama with this work also, and scholars, and also educated people, and every village and every mohalla should have a Baitul Mal.
As we give the Hajj training for the people who are going to perform Hajj, such training should also be given to the people how to create these zakat centers or Baitul Mal.
That should be there, and there should be a campaign for this, because that can solve most of our problems. And especially this begging will be this problem of begging will be solved, because it has become an institution now. It has become a mafia.
Exactly.
And people are just misusing this, begging for ambition, wealth, and other things. So, but if we have zakat centers, we have battle malls, then we know who we can pay this, and they are being given with honorably. They are being given this whatever they need, and through the amount of zakat that can be given to them. But because we don't have any such type of centers, we don't have such type of arrangements, so people are misusing all these clauses.
One more thing which I want to ask is that, for example, we are collecting zakat from a particular area. Then can it be spent to different areas where it has not been collected from? Where
The most likely thing is it should be spent only in the area where from it has been collected.
Okay.
It has been mentioned, so that it should be given to the fuqara of that area, and taken from the agniya of that area, the rich people, and given to the fuqara of that area. So, but if we just there is some surplus, then we can use it at other places.
Okay.
The best thing was that we should use it locally, rather than just give it to other places where about we don't know anything. And the people of that area should also make arrangements for their own people who are destitute.
Okay, so please tell us, in the golden age of Islam, as you earlier mentioned, that nobody was going to receive zakat because they were well enriched and they were self-empowered. Can that period be revived?
Why not? Because they, as has been said by Imam Malik, the earlier days, when the people became good by the Islam in earlier days with the remedy, that remedy is available, they can become good in today also.
And even
In modern times also. The remedy is there, and that is Quran and Sunnah. And I tell you that there are many Muslim countries where they have eradicated poverty to a great extent, and one is this means for that is zakat. They have established these centers, and they are using it for the proper, uses. They are utilizing it for the proper purposes, not in a haphazard way as we have here. And we do know how to calculate zakat, whom to give zakat, and when to give zakat. In most cases, we give zakat during Ramadan. But what type of zakat? We don't calculate everything, and there is no awareness for that. It was the duty of the ulama, but I don't know what they are doing. They are not creating that awareness about. They are creating awareness about sectarianism and other things. They make us more sectarian rather than to eradicate the problem society is facing. One of the greatest problem is this poverty, and our unemployed youth is there. And there are people who should just create sources for these people.
And it can be a source of unification.
Not only zakat, but other sources also. Sadaqat also. Zakat has its own specific class, but there are other sadaqat, and there are infaq, and there are charity. There are three terms. One is zakat, second is sadaqat, and third is infaq. Infaq means to spend whole of your wealth. And if you want to do that, as Sufis would say, they only keep with them as it is the amount of zakat only with them. And they give everything else in the way of Allah, and they don't keep anything with them except as much as zakat fulfill their needs. So it means that you can spend a lot of money in this way, and Islam has given that. And once it was, as you said rightly, in the early days of golden period of Islam, this was very important. There were rich people like Hazrat Usman ibn Abdurrahman bin Auf, and they were very rich people. And they were spending this wealth for the people, for freeing the slaves and imprisoned people and other things. But they were not using it for the purpose. But nowadays, our wealthy people, they are living for themselves. They do spend their wealth. Even they do pay off zakat. And they have been warned by Prophet. They have been powered by Quran.
What is the potential of zakat in modern times?
Lot of potential is there, and a community which has the institution of zakat and they are still poor, they are still beggars. It is very ironical. We have such a great institution of zakat, so no one should go to bed without food. Everyone can have a shelter, everyone can have clothing, basic needs of life can be fulfilled by zakat. And there will be no person to beg. Rather, every person will be empowered by this zakat. But because we don't have this institution and we are not utilizing this potential, and if we do this, then inshallah most of the problems of our society will be eradicated, solved.
At the end, I want to ask you, Dr. Saab, that you know that richer are growing more richer and poorer are becoming more poor. This gap is increasing. How can we convince people to pay zakat? As you rightly said, just 2% of people are paying zakat. So there's a need to convince the people. There's a need to make people aware about this fact.
See, when Hazrat Abu Bakr Siddiq, he became the Caliph, so there were some people, they were saying that we'll go for prayers, but we will not pay up zakat. What he said? He said, I will fight with those people who are not paying zakat, only offering prayers. And then Umar told him that, they are offering prayers. So he said, you have become very, coward in Islam, but before Islam, you were very strong and very bold. So he said, and he said, I will fight if, and he said, I will fight with those people
Who will not
if they will not give the rope with which they were tying their camels. If they do pay that, and they were paying during the time of Prophet, I will fight if they do give that to me as in the zakat with their camels and whatever animals they have. So in this way, the importance of zakat is next to prayer, next to salah. And it has been said that you offer prayers and give zakat. And it has been said that many times, give zakat and you will become mushrik. So, there's such type of punishments and penalties for those people who are not paying off zakat. Scorpions and snakes and others, they will be just biting them in the grave as well as on the day of judgment. And the wealth, that is especially the gold and silver, they are amazing. That will be put into the burning fire, and then they will be just tortured by that.
It will become a sort of burning
fuel
for them.
Yeah, burning fuel for them, and such type of great calamities they have to face in the life after. And it has been also mentioned by Prophet ﷺ that he took, he said by God, by Allah, if you pay zakat or you pay sadaqat, your wealth will never decrease. So such as, and zakat is meaning, zakat also, one of the meaning of zakat is enhancing wealth rather than decreasing it. And secondly, enhancing taqwa and love of Allah, and making you purified from the love of worldly gains, and you are loving Allah, Allah hubbihi, because you are spending despite the love of your wealth for the love of Allah. You love of Allah supersedes love of wealth. So it means that lam taral hatta tunfiqu ma tuhibun. You will never reach to the climax of goodness unless you spend that which you love. And innahu lahubbil khair lashadid. Man loves the wealth the most. So one of the tests of a believer is if he is spending the wealth in the way of Allah. Otherwise, his belief is just bogus. It is not true belief. It is not authentic.
The test is by spending
money. And everywhere it has been said, first by spending their wealth, then their selves. So in this way, this is one of the tests of Iman. If you are not spending wealth in the way of Allah, and you are not giving zakat, and which is due, and wafi amwal haqqul lisa'il wal mahrum, in their wealth there is the share of those people who are deprived and who are asking for it. So it means it is their right. We have to give, and if we are not giving it, we are usurping their right, and it means our wealth has become not purified. It is impure. So in this way, Islam has just given very great teachings about zakat, and it's all classes, and our scholars have explained that. And Prophet ﷺ has just established a system of zakat in Medina, and we know that how people were being provided all the needs, and there was stipend, and stipends were being paid when any newborn was coming to the world. The special stipend was given to that mother who has given birth to a child. So in this way, this can be done today also, and we can eradicate the problem of poverty. We have such an institution in Islam, and all these 8 classes, if we take care of all the needs of the people who are having some problems in life, those can be realized.
Thank you very much.
MashaAllah.
Thank you, Doctor.
Welcome.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.